Hey guys, what is up? So today we're going to be building a super simple to-do app, which is going to render a list coming from a database, and we're going to be using Wized. So yeah, we're going to assume that you don't really know too much about Wized if you're watching this video, or you tried it and you got stuck. So hopefully this video will be super simple. We're just simplicity is the aim, just to get you to use Wized because we think it's a great product and everyone should use it. Also, if you're in the UK right now, it is super warm, so I'm drinking my water. Make sure you drink your water, people. Okay, let's get into it. Before we start, we're going to need an account on Airtable if you don't have one already, and we're going to need an account with Wized. So with Airtable, it's pretty simple to sign up. Just go to airtable.com. You can sign up completely for free. And then for Wized, you're going to need to get an invite code because right now it's still in the invite code stage at the time that we're recording this. So to get an invite code, you're going to look in the description of the video because I should have one from my own account. And then if you go to the wiz.com website, press get invite, and it will take you to this FAQ board. And then if you press on this Discord link, it will take you to the Discord community where there's also some invite codes floating around. And you can also check on Twitter too. Hopefully there'll be some on Twitter. And then the last thing you'll need is this clonable from Webflow. Hopefully that'll be in the description as well. It's super simple. You could probably even make your own, but it's just, as you can see, yeah, it's just one section and it's got a heading, and then it's got a grid with one card inside of it with like a heading, text and paragraph. Okay, so that's the stuff that you'll need to get started. So yeah, to quickly explain what we've got going on in Webflow, like I mentioned, it's just super simple. And we have an empty grid in here because what we want is for multiple to-dos to get populated inside of this grid. So we want it to be in a grid format with some gaps and spacing in. And then this will be the status or the badge, which will be either to-do, in progress, or doing, and then done. And then this will hopefully change color depending on the status of the to-do. This will be the heading of the to-do, and then this will be the paragraph of the to-do. I feel like I'm gonna get sick of saying to-do in this video, but hey. So yeah, that's what's going on. And we only built out one because we just need one as a template. So the next thing we're gonna do is head over to Wized, and I am going to sign in. And I've just signed in, and what you want to do is press this new project button up at the top right here, press new project, and it'll create a new Wized project for you. So walking you guys through this. So we're going to call this Step Labs Render List. Something super simple. And the domain we're going to get from here. I'm just going to publish it so I can copy it. Yeah, Step Labs Render List. Webflow.io. So that goes your staging domain in Webflow, and then you want to copy this embed code into the head section of your website. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to go to Webflow. We're going to click on the site settings or project settings, whatever you prefer. Head over to custom code, and then paste this inside of the head section, just like that, and press save changes. You don't need to worry about these messages. But yeah, once that's done, publish it again. And then you can press continue, and hopefully, like magic, you should see your website inside the Wized configurator. So the Wized configurator, let me explain what is going on here. So at this top bar, we've got the projects we're on, and then we've got the page switch over here. So as I mentioned, super simple. We've only got one page right now. This is to refresh the iframe, because what you're seeing here is an iframe. If you don't know what an iframe is, basically just don't refresh your actual tab on your browser. If you want to do things, refresh the frame. And then here we've got the X-ray, which shows you the attributes on the page, and attributes refreshes the attributes just in case you save in Webflow and come back. This will make more sense soon. But yeah, we don't have any attributes for now. This is a simple undo and redo selector. This is the save status of the project. Wized automatically saves everything, which is amazing. So you don't need to worry about that too much, but you can come here and press save and it will save it anyway. And then preview just takes you to the staging domain of the website, so you can preview things. And inside of the left side panel, we've got My Apps, which is where you can connect different apps or integrations basically. So for us, we're only going to need Airtable on this one, and then you can have your data ins, which is data coming into the website, so in the name, and also known as your get request. Basically, it's getting data. So for this one, we're going to be getting the list of to-dos from Airtable. Actions, I'll explain what these are later. Data route is data going out or posting request, sending request over basically. Auth we won't need for this video. Settings will come in useful later, same thing with page data. And then the debugger, I don't think we'll need that. And then down here at the bottom, you can have day mode or night mode. So I like night mode, so I'm gonna go with that. All right, so that's what's going on in Wized, just in case you're super scared. But yeah, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to Airtable and we're going to set up our Airtable base. So let's go and do exactly that. So I'm going to sign in. And then once you're signed in on Airtable, so you should have just made an account, you can click this button here, create a base. Ooh. So we're going to call this the to-do base. Call it. Simple. You can get rid of this tutorial stuff and delete the fields that we've got right now. So this notes, we won't need it. Field, we won't really need it. And status, we might as well keep status. You can just simply add this in. It's just a status field when you press the plus button. Right now we have a name, which is great. We're going to need a name for our to-do. So we're going to leave that as it is. And then inside of Webflow, let's just check what we've got. We've got a name, status, and paragraph. Yes, that's exactly what we need. So we're going to need a long text or a rich text, and we're going to call that paragraph. Boom. Okay, and then the status here. Can we change the options inside of this? So yeah, press edit field, and as you can see, to do, in progress, and done. That is kind of exactly what we need. And yeah, one thing we're going to do is create one more field, which is going to be for the classes. This will make more sense later, but this is, I'll try and explain it. So inside of the badge right now, we want the badge to be red when it is not done. We want it to be yellow when it is in progress, or maybe another color. And then we want it to be green when it's done. So for that, we're going to add different classes to the badge, which we're going to make later. And yeah, we need to pull those class names from somewhere. So we're going to add it in a single line text, and we're going to put class here. There's probably a smarter way of doing this, but I haven't figured it out, or this is just the simplest way to do things. So we're going to add in some demo data here. So we're just going to do to-do 1, to-do 2, oh, to-do 2, and to-do 3. We'll just do it like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to get some lorem ipsum from this website. That's a bit much. So we'll just copy about that much. And we're just going to paste that inside each of our paragraphs for now. And status for this one, we'll do one as to do, one as in progress, one as done. And for the class name, it's basically going to be the same as status, but downcased, and then you swap the spaces for hyphens. So in other words, this would be to do, this would be in dash progress. These are the class names we're going to use, and this will be done. So yeah, we've just set up a database which has our to-dos in them. So you can see we've got to-do 1, and it's got the paragraph in here, it's got a status, and it's got a class attached to it as well. So now we just need to connect this to Wized. So if we head back over to Wized, and then we go to My Apps, I think we're already on it, and then we just need to add in an app, and we're going to call this Airtable for simplicity. And we're going to go over here, and you can see Airtable is the first on there, which is pretty easy. To get your private key, you need to go out of this thing in Airtable, click your profile in the top right, and then press Developers Hub. So press that, and then go to this API second tab here, and then you just need to copy the code that comes out of here. I'm not going to show that on screen. I'm just going to grab it from here. Actually, I'm going to blur it out anyway. So yeah, grab that from here. If you don't have one, then just press create token, and it will create one for you, and just copy it. Make sure you don't show this to anyone, this private key. And then you're going to paste it in here. I'm going to blur this out. Okay, and you'll see that your app has been connected, and you'll see this green button that says saved, and hopefully you guys are following along fine. All right, so next thing we're going to do is go to our data in, and what we want to do is first get that data onto the Wiz configurator or onto the page, because right now, as you can see on page data, we have no data at all, so we need to get some inside. So we're going to press a new data in. We're going to call this get to-dos. That makes sense. App, we're going to select Airtable, which is the app we just made. API type, we're going to do database, because authentication is something different for user stuff. Method is going to be get item list, because we want to get all of them, not just one. So we're going to get all of the items on that specific Airtable base. Base, we're just going to choose the one that I've made. So I've got a few more on my account, but we call this Step Labs to do base. And then table is just going to be table 1. As you can see, this is as you can see, this is just the name of the table itself, so table 1. So that's where that's coming from. Awesome. So filter, we don't really need to do anything on that. Sorting, maybe you can use that later. Limit, I don't think we're going to have more than 99. Trigger, so trigger is what triggers this action to happen. I think keep on explaining things, but it's pretty simple. So we need something to trigger this data in action, or request actually. Trigger this data in request to happen. So we need to add an attribute, which once the attribute is spotted on the page, is going to fire the action off. To add an attribute is the next stage we're going to do, and this is going to be inside of Webflow. So we are going to go here, and then we're going to add an attribute to our, let's do it to the to-do component. And so we're going to click the cogwheel over here and add in a custom attribute. To add in a custom attribute to show up on Wized, you need to use the name Wized. You can also use W-SICCel, but Wized is easier. And then put in the value, and I like to do the same as the class name. So this will be to-do component. And as you can see, I've just camel cased it, so that means the first one is downcased, the first word is downcased, and the second word is upcased, or the first word is capitalized. That's it. Okay, so once that's done, I'm just going to publish that to sync it over to Wized. I like to do attributes as you go, so you don't end up setting attributes that you never actually need. So once you've done that, just press refresh attributes. And if I press attribute present here, we're going to see that an attribute shows up, which is our to-do component, which is amazing. To-do component, perfect. So this is going to trigger on page load basically, because this to-do component is present, and it's going to fire off this request. So you can press this little play button once you open up this response tab, and it's going to fire the request for us. So let's test if it's working. Boom. So you can see we've returned the full list of data that we've got from our base over here. So you can see the reason it starts with 0 is because the way I think JavaScript works, it just starts indexing at 0, because 0 is technically 1. So 0 is the first thing. So 0 based indexing there. So this, when it says 0, that's really the first item in the list. Where it says 1, that's the second, and then 2 is the third. So there's no way to enlarge this, but this is basically the first item, this is the second item, this is the third item. But you can see it's got the same name that we put inside of Airtable, and this has got the same status that we put inside of Airtable as well. So this is good. We're on a roll. We've got our data inside of our app right now. So what we're going to do is set an action to render the list now. So we are going to create a new action, call it render list. And we're going to apply this to our card. So we need to set an attribute to the card, and we're going to set one to the card, the status text here, the heading, and the paragraph. So let's jump back into Webflow and do that. So over here, same thing as we did with the component. We're going to go to custom attributes, add one, call it Wized, and we're going to do to-do card, done. Same thing with this badge, Wized, to-do badge. Same thing with the heading, Wized and to do heading, and the last one is the paragraph, so I'm going to do Wized and then to do paragraph. Okay, so we're just going to publish that up again, and just to show you the difference the publish makes. So as you can see right now we have no attributes, but once we refresh attributes with this button over here, you'll now see all the attributes that we just added, the 4 that we just added, show up. So now we can select them. So for render lists, you want to apply it to the attribute which is the template one. So this is what, or why we only made one, because this is like the template one. It's like the template for the rest of them. So we're going to choose a to-do card. In the configuration, we're going to add, and we want to choose the render list one. And for this render list, you can press this little enlarge button. It just gives you more space and options to click from. So that's this little arrow thing here. And we want to choose r.1.d. If you're wondering what this is our get to-dos request, and this is the result of it. So we just want to get this particular thing, r.1.d. If I could scroll, I don't know if you probably don't understand code, but this is an array inside of an object, on objects inside, whichever way. But yeah, this is just the full list that we want to return. So we want to choose that, press done. Okay, and variable for index we are going to need. We don't have any variables right now, so we're going to set that up right now. So we're going to close this for a second and go over to page data, and then go to this general tab, enlarge it, and then we're going to press plus on variables. So here we want to make a variable, and I'm just going to call it I. It doesn't need an initial value, all it needs is a name. You can also call this iterator, but I prefer I just because it's shorter. So yeah, close that, go back to our actions panel, back to our render list action, and over to our variable for index. You can now see v.I shows up. We're going to close. Okay, so if I refresh the page now, you should see 3 of these cards come up. It's going to have the wrong information on them, but hopefully that will show up. Perfect. So you can see we now have 3 of these cards showing up. The reason it all has the same info is because we've not put that info to change, but we're going to do that in a second. And yeah, so far so good. Smash the like button if you're following along. So the next thing we're going to do is add in 3 more actions to show the heading, the text, and the status text. Wait, the heading, the paragraph, and the status text. So I'm going to add in an action, and this is going to be set heading. Start with the heading. Apply this to our to-do heading, and our configuration is we're going to set the text to the value that we have in Airtable. So text type is going to be plain text for now, and then inside of the text, the data we want to get is this particular one that says r.d. whatever name, and then instead of the 0 we want to swap out the 0 for our iterator variable, which is going to be v.I. If you also use iterator, you do v.iterator, but we just did v.I. I'm wondering whether I should explain this, whether it's a good idea to explain it, but yeah, basically you can see the result of what it's getting right now is the to-do name. So this is for the, again, as we mentioned, for the indexing, this is our first value, so it has a name of to-do 2, is that right? Oh wait, yeah. So it has a value of that, and then the next one has a value of that. Okay, I see what's going on here. We should have sorted the indexing. We're probably going to do that. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go back to our data in, and inside of this get to-dos, we are going to go to the sorting panel. We're going to add in a sort value, and we're going to sort it by the name. And we're going to put ascending, I believe, whichever works for you, but I think ascending works. And then we're going to just refresh the page, and hopefully you should see the text for each one changes to the heading. Awesome. So yeah, we can see the heading is now coming through. So now that's done, we can duplicate this action for the status text and also for the paragraph. So we're going to go to the heading, and we're going to duplicate this action with this little icon here. So perfect. And as you can see, we've got a new action, and we're just going to do the same thing for status text, and we're going to apply this to our badge element, and inside of the text we can delete this and then put the status element. So now you can see the values from our page are now actually coming in the right order because they've been sorted. So we're going to click r dot this one, the status one, and then we're going to change the 0 from v.i. from 0 to v.i. The reason we're using v.i again is just so it loops through all of them. So instead of just getting the first value, so they'd all be set to to-do 1, we want to iterate through all of them. So that's what the iterator variable does. And then press done, and then duplicate this one more time for our paragraph. So we're going to set paragraph, and we're going to apply this to our paragraph element. Again, set text, plain text, and we're going to set this to paragraph, and then we're going to set this to v.i once again. Cool. So we're going to refresh the attributes and see whether that is all working. Looks good. So yeah, you can see we've got to do, we've got in progress, and we've got done, got to do 1. And you can see this matches up exactly with the data that you set inside of Airtable. So to do 1 is to progress to do 2 has a in progress, and to do 3 is done. So you can see that syncs up with exactly what we have over here. So the last thing to do is just change the classes, which is going to change the color of that background. So we're going to jump back into Webflow and do that. So let's first of all remove the background of this. We're going to copy this color. So we're going to set this to be transparent by default. So what we want to do is we want to set a class name of the stuff that we put in the classes tab inside of Airtable. So we want to make a class called to do, another class called in progress, another class called done, and these are going to be combo classes to this to do badge element that we've got. So we're going to do to do, and this is going to have a background of that color. So when this class gets added to the badge, it's going to change that background color. Okay, so now we've made that, we can just remove it, but it's already set. And then we're going to have another one of in progress, and this is going to have a yellowish color. So let's just choose one that isn't too sore on the eyes. That will do. And that is going to be our in progress color. And then we're going to do the same thing for the done class. So we're going to press done, and then we're going to choose a background, try and choose a nice green here. Let's go for over here. That looks good to me. And then that's going to be our done class. So then you can see we've set these 3 classes. So if the specific to do is in progress, it will change to this yellowish color. If it has been done and it's got that class, it's going to change to the green. And if it needs to be done, it's going to be this red color. So we are now just going to publish that and set this up inside of Wized. Okay. So just published that. That was pretty quick. We're going to refresh. Cool. So now you can see that there's no classes on them at all, which is good. And we're going to add in a new action of set status color. And we're going to apply this to our badge element here. Perfect. And a configuration, the setting, we want to choose the set class here because we're setting a combo class on top of the to-do badge. And then the class is going to be add class, and then class name is going to be pulled from this class thing here, and we're going to put v.i, and yeah, again, v.i is just going to iterate through all of them, so it's not just going to pull the first one, which is going to be to do, and make them all red. So we're going to press done on that and refresh the attributes. Perfect. So you can see we've got the badges which are being labeled correctly now. And yeah, just to show you exactly how this works, we're going to preview this inside of the just outside of the Wiz configurator, and when we refresh, you can see exactly how it works almost perfectly. So we're going to go to Airtable, and we're just going to add in a new value. So we're going to call this todo4, and we're going to put the paragraph as drink some water, something random. And then status, we're going to have this in progress, and then we're going to copy the same class in progress. Okay, and then give that a second to just sync up. And if we refresh over here, you can now see that we've got todo4, which is awesome. And then let's say that we wanted to delete todo2. We're going to click on that. How do you delete? There we go, delete record. And again, give it a second to sync and refresh, and you can see todo2 is now gone. And we've got todo1, todo2, 3, todo4. So yeah, that is a very simple render list, and you can see you can add in different or as many things to this database as the free plan on Airtable will allow you to do, and as many records as you want. And this will be useful even internally, just in case you've got things. I know you could use Notion for this, but in terms of just getting onto Wiz and getting experience with Wiz, this is a great place to start. So you notice when I refresh page, however, it does take a little while to get in. This is because the requests are happening in the background. So the request of getting that data in, and then all the actions of setting that. So when people first come on the page, they will see this like, you know, ugly little loading phase sort of thing. So to help with that, you can add in a loader onto your page. And just as a bonus, we're going to create a loader right now. So we're going to go to Webflow. I think this should be inside of the clonable already. So you should have this loader wrapper thing, and we're just going to put it on display block to show you how it looks. So this is just how it looks, very simple. Inside of the loader wrapper, we've got this loader thing. It's got a width and a height you can change. So if this is too big, let's set it to 5. And all it's doing is it's got different borders with a border radius set to 50%. So basically a circle. And you've got your borders around, and then one side of the border needs to be whichever color, just to differentiate it. And then we are going to set a animation inside of Webflow to have this spinning, so it actually looks like a loader. So we're going to have it trigger on page load, because it's going to be spinning the whole time in the background. So on page load, we're going to start a new animation, call this spinner. Probably think of a better name, it's more descriptive, but for now spinner works for me. And we're going to add in a new action on this loader element, which is going to be rotate. And we don't need an initial state, and we don't need any easing, because we want it to be linear and smooth. Or not smooth, but just constant. And we're going to set the initial, well, not the initial, but we're going to set this to 0 for the first one in terms of the spin. And I'm just going to duplicate this action, and we're going to set it to 360 for the second one. And the duration on this is going to be, say, 1 second. Let's save this and preview it. So as you can see, it works pretty well there. It just spins. We can see there's a little bit of delay when I press that preview button. That's because I've set this to duration 0.5 when it should just be 0. I'm just going to save that. And as you can see now, as soon as I press it, it spins. And what we can do is press this loop button, and it's going to loop this animation over and over and over again. So as you can see now, we've got something that looks like a loader, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to stop the preview. And yeah, you can customize the loader as you want. I kind of like it to have like this blurred background effect, so people can kind of see what's going on in the background and see it loading. But yeah, you can just have a solid color or a background image, whatever it tickles your fancy. It's a weird expression. Okay, we're going to publish this over to Webflow, and you'll notice, publish this over to Wiz, and then once we refresh, you'll see that our page just has a loader that goes on forever. We only want the loader to disappear once we're done loading the items in. So we're going to add in a new action, and that is going to be hide loader. So we're going to apply this to our loader wrapper, which already has a Wized attribute. But if yours doesn't, you can go to the loader wrapper go to the cogwheel and add in a new attribute. So this one's using the wiz.el. So I'm just going to change this to wiz because it doesn't really make a difference, but just so everything syncs up. Publish that over again. Perfect. So yeah, this just has a loader wrapper attribute, and we're going to set the configuration to set visibility. Okay, and this is one of the more technical parts of Wized, or the learning curve as they might say, is using logic. So what we want is for the loader to hide once the request is finished executing. So we want to set it to visible if the get to do request has requested, or is requesting and has requested successfully. So the code we're going to use for this is going to look something similar to, so yeah, it was going to be this bit of code here. I was going to explain it, but I'm going to explain it now that it's pasted in. So this is basically an expression which evaluates whether this is true or false. So this needs to be set to r.1. I've just copied this in from another project I did. But yeah, you can see this will either evaluate to true or false because it's Boolean. So we want this to be false once the request is finished executing. So once I press play on this, right, once this is done, we want it to then set it to false. So what it's doing is basically saying, if this is requesting, which is a true or false thing, it's a Boolean itself. So you can see r.1 $that is requesting right now is false. If I'm really quick and I press it, so you can see it says true for a second. So once it goes false, right? So once it's done requesting, and that's what this little the slashes mean, and has requested, and the status code does not equal 200. There's a weird way of saying it, but basically once the expression is done. So we're going to hit done on there, and we're going to hit close, and we're going to refresh the page, and you'll see the loader come on, and then it will disappear. So yeah, refresh it again, so you see the loader come on and it will disappear. So once it's finished loading and that weird stage has happened, it shows. So that's just a little way of doing things. If you want to get more advanced and have it not to be so sharp, you can use opacity instead, with some other custom JavaScript. But yeah, right now we've got a simple to-do app, and you can see the class changes on each one, and this is rendering from a database, which you can change the values from the database. So hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you appreciated the full tutorial. Try to walk you through and explain what's going on at each stage as we're going along, because the best way to learn is by doing things practically, especially when it comes to Wiz, the no-code tools. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. We could turn this into a series, building more on this to-do app, making it more functional, giving people the ability to change the stage or change the status of it. So instead of it being to do, we'll be able to change it to in progress or done. Or we could just do more videos around Wiz. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you prefer. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Can't speak today, it's too hot, that's why it is. Yeah, hopefully this was helpful, and smash the like button if you thought it was. See you guys soon.